Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Maximize Your Life Bible Study. I am Minister Marcus. What I do on Wednesday nights is I give you something to think about from a biblical standpoint to help you enhance your spiritual walk with God. So I hope that you guys are enjoying your spiritual journey. As you know, I'm a year older. Last week was my birthday, so I didn't go live. I did upload a little something for you guys who are used to hearing my voice on Wednesday night. So I did upload something. Hopefully, it blessed you. But tonight, I'm not gonna, take up too much time. I hope that I give you something tonight that can encourage your faith, and I pray that God confirms some things, or that He leads, or gives you guidance in some areas through this lesson tonight. And so let's just go right into it. Tonight's lesson is coming from Psalm number 128. And we just going to read 4 verses from that. That's Psalms 128, verse 1 through 4. And it's not really meant to be real deep tonight, as you know, as most of the time it never is. But I do want to kind of share some things with you tonight, and hopefully it'll encourage you as we all deal with this COVID-19. Psalm 128, I'm reading from the New American Standard Bible, uh, uh, Baby Black. All right. Uh, that's the name of the Bible, by the way. Psalm 128, verse 1 through 4. It says, "How blessed is anyone who fears the Lord. How blessed is everyone who fears the Lord, who walks in his ways. When you shall eat of the fruit of your hands," it says hands, but I'm going to interchange that with labor. "When you shall eat the fruit of your labor, you will be happy, and it will be well with you. Your wife shall be like a fruitful vine within your house, your children like olive plants around your table. Behold, for thus shall the man be blessed who fears the Lord." And so tonight I want to talk about the family blessing. All right. I know that may not make sense right now, but if you stay with me, hopefully I'm going to bless you. All right. And so I want to start by saying that Psalms is probably the most beloved book in the Bible. Most people read Psalm that don't even read the Bible. People quote Psalm that don't even really believe in the Christian faith all the way. But Psalms is a very relatable book because you don't have to be saved really. You don't have to be spiritual. You don't have to really understand too much about how certain things fit together in Christology and eschatology. You don't have to know really any of that, right? But Psalms is very relatable in the sense that it catches you at any given time in your life. And I love Psalms. One of the reasons I do love Psalms is because when you read the Bible and you read all of the major names in the Bible, most of the time you get a false sense of that they had it together most of the time. That you get this sense that they were very spiritual or they were real strong in their faith. But what I do love about Psalms is that you get to kind of see the behind closed doors, of what people felt, the things that they were thinking at different times. And that's an encouragement to me because as strong as I am in the faith, as strong as I am in God, and as close as I am with God, there are times that I get discouraged. There are times that I get frustrated. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. No matter how saved you are, we are still human. And our humanity sometimes gets the best of us. And I don't care who you are. You can tell me that you speak in tongues as soon as you wake up in the morning. But there are times, right, that you get frustrated with people, right? That people do and say things to you that annoy you. And and it's good that Psalms lets us see the behind closed doors of people who were strong in the faith like David, but that had some difficult times. And it lets you see their flaws. It lets you see their shortcomings and how they responded to God and how in turn God responded to him. It's kind of like a behind the scenes. It lets you know that you're not crazy, right? When you wake up on the wrong side of the bed sometimes, or you're not losing your faith just because you're not spiritual in the moment. But it lets us know that just as many strengths as we have, right? Sometimes we have the same amount of weaknesses, or sometimes just as high as we go in God, that our flesh can still bring us very low. And sometimes when we do have good victories, that our good victories don't negate the fact that we all have the potential to do or say things, right, that are completely outside the will of God. It just gives me a place, right, that lets me know that it's okay to be human, that God made me the way that he made me, and he understands that I'm going to have human emotions. He understands that things are difficult, that he calls us to do things that are sometimes strenuous. One of the things I love about Psalms is it shows the uncertainty, right? As much as I know that I'm walking with God, that there are times in my life that the way that he moves or the way that he goes about speaking to me or dealing with me, I'm not all the way certain, right? And sometimes I need confirmation, right? Sometimes I need direction. Sometimes I need him to reconfirm again what he already said, because circumstances, right, make me uncertain. And so I love the Psalms because it's very relatable in the sense of, you can just read about it and it kind of gives you some guidance, and it lets you know that you're not the only one that has uncertain times. You're not the only one that gets frustrated. You're not the only one that gets tired. We're all dealing with this whole COVID-19. It lets you know that we're not the only ones that sometimes get weak in our faith, and everybody needs some encouragement. And so this psalm serves as an encouragement to those of us who are trying to walk with God, who are attempting to change our lives and do things the right way. This psalm serves as a place of advice. And I like to look at psalms like these, like grandma standing up in church, or uncle or auntie. I don't know about y'all, but I grew up in church and all my family was in church. And sometimes grandpa or grandma, my grandpa was the pastor, but he would stand up and he would give a testimony, right? And a testimony has a way of encouraging you, right? And it lets you know that the struggle is hard, right? But God saw me through it, right? I've seen some issues in my life, but God saw me through it. And it serves as an encouragement to let us know, right, that sometimes you are going to get weak in your faith, but be encouraged because God brought me through it. And the old folks, they would say it like this: if he did it for me, right, then you can be encouraged because he'll do it for you. And so it serves as a place of encouragement. It's an encouragement, and it explains why Psalms is the most read book in the Bible, because if you're feeling some type of way, Psalms can meet you there. And I love Psalms like this that encourage. It reminds me that no matter the struggle, there is a reward for living godly. There is a reward, right, for denying yourself. There is a reward for saying no when you want to say yes, for not going off when you want to go off, right? For trusting God at the times that you can't trace him. Psalms like this encourage me. It reminds me that there is a struggle, but yet God is still faithful. I don't know if that's an encouragement for you, but there is a struggle, but God is still faithful. It is Psalms like these that help to remind me not to get discouraged during the tough times of my life. And because it tells me that God can help me to overcome. If God can do it for them, right, I'm sure at this point that God can do it for me. It's an encouragement. This psalm is an encouragement. Blessed are those, right, who respect God, fear the Lord. In this text, it translates to a deep awe or a deep respect. Blessed is the one who respects the Lord, who gives reverence to God. It doesn't mean to be scared. It means to have reverence and respect for. I don't know about you guys, but one of the things that annoy me about some of the millennials, about these late 2000 babies, is that they have no reverence. They have no respect. We were trained, right, to have respect. There were certain things you didn't do in the church house. There were certain things that you didn't say in the church house. Certain books you didn't bring in the church house, not because you were so much as scared, but you had a certain level of respect. I remember some homeboys of mine. They had their stuff in the car, right? But they had enough respect for the house of God. If they was coming to pick somebody up, they would turn their music down, right? Out of respect. right? Out of respect. And so at the beginning of this psalm, it says, blessed is he who fears the Lord, who walks in his ways. It is a way of saying, I have respect to the point that there are certain things that I don't do because I respect God. And that there are some things that I do because I respect God. I respect God to the degree of curving some of the things that I say. And you know what? It's so funny, right? It's so funny. It's so funny because there's some friends of mine, there's some jokes that they'll make, and they know that I'm a minister, and they'll say things like, you lucky you got that Bible in your hand, or you lucky you in church right now. It's a level of respect to the degree of changing their actions. And it's a way of saying that my reverence and respect for God causes me to do or not to do some certain things. And this is what the first verse says, that blessed is the man, right, that who fears the Lord, who walks in his ways, right? Blessed is the man who respects God enough to walk in his ways, to walk in his ways. It's a way of saying that I respect God so much. And this goes beyond, right, just turning the music down. This goes beyond just things I will and won't say in the sanctuary. But this goes to transforming or changing some things about my life because I respect God's presence in my life. I don't know about y'all, but a few years ago, when I would drink real heavy, I had such a respect for the Bible, right, that I wouldn't put my drink on the same table that the Bibles was on, right? I would move my drink, or I would, it's funny, but I would take it somewhere else out of respect. But as I walked with God, as I grew in God, right, there were some things, right, that I started changing about my life because I wanted his presence and I respected his presence in my life so much that it caused me to lay down some things. I started to walk in his ways. And I want you to notice this, right? Because in reading the Psalms 128, before I read that, I read Psalm 127, and I noticed that Psalm 128 is somewhat of a contrast to Psalm 127. In Psalm 127, it says that he that builds a house labors in vain if the Lord doesn't build it. And so in Psalm 127 to Psalm 128, it shows the contrast, right? The contrast of having God in your life and not having God in your life. It places God as the sustaining factor in your life. And I want to point it out, right? Because 127 and 128, neither one of them stop the issues of life, but one just shows you what working without God in your life and one working with God in your life, the kind of effect that the unseen God has on your life. It shows you the contrast of having God in your life versus not having God in your life. And what it says in 127 is that without God in your life, right, you can work as hard as you want to work, but one twist and turn in your life will leave you empty. One situation or circumstance in your life can leave your life empty. When life takes a turn, no matter how hard you have worked without God, right, it'll leave you empty. It'll leave you deplorable and broken. It'll leave you by yourself. But Psalm 128, it says that you blessed, right? Your labor will be rewarded. And it's saying with God, when life takes a turn for the worse, because you have God in your life, God has the ability to make the bad turns turn out for good. It lets us know, right, that God's presence don't stop life, but it changes the outcomes of life. That God's presence has a way of having an effect on the outcomes of life, so that when things do go bad, you don't end up empty, right, but you end up as more than a conqueror. Because I want y'all to hear me when I say that, because the same things in life has happened to you that happened to other people, but because I got God in my life, right, that my labor would not turn out in vain, that God has a way of working bad things out for my good because he's a part of my life. And so I love the contrast between 127 and 128. That building without God, you can still amount to nothing. But building with God, no matter what happens, you have an assurance that the God that you serve, right, is able to make sure that your work is not in vain. And I hope that that's an encouragement for you, for those of you that do have God in your life, to not walk away from Him just because it seems like it's not working, to stop or quit just because it seems like it's not going your way right now. But it's an encouragement to us, right? That just because life has taken a turn, or just because things are not going the way you expect them to go, to put your trust back in God, because God has a way of working things out in your favor. Now, here's where it takes a turn, right? Because what it does in from verse 2 to 3, it moves, right? It says that blessed is he who walks, but then it moves to labor, right? It goes from walking to working. I want you to hear me when I say that. It goes from walking with God to labor, which is working in God. It says you will eat the fruit of your labor, or the fruit of your hands. You will eat the labor of your fruit. And I want to point this out to you tonight, that there can be no fruit if there is no labor. There can be no fruit if there is no labor. You can't expect fruit if you have not been laboring. Some people come to poverty because of the lack of, come on, laboring. There cannot be any fruit, right? It says you will eat the fruit of your hands. In other words, the work that you've been doing won't amount to nothing. But here's what I have to tell my Christian brothers and sisters, right? That just because you have God, that does not eliminate your responsibility to be working towards something. Some people come to poverty because we expect God to bring fruit without us putting in no labor. And I want you to understand that without no labor, there can be no fruit. God cannot bless what you do not do. And so I want you to hear the text when it says that you will eat the fruit of your labor, right? But without labor, there can be no fruit. In other words, what it's saying is that you will be blessed, right? Right? It says that you'll be blessed, that God will bless it, and blessed can be translated in this text to happy, right? But get this, the happiness takes work. It will be well with you, but it's going to take some work. I don't know who that is for tonight, but it's going to take some work. I know you thought because God was on your side that God is going to work it, but God can't work where you're not working, right? Whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven. Whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. It shows you that God works as you work. God moves as you move. If you want happiness in your life, you gonna have to work. I wish somebody would have told me that when I was 15 years old, right? That you can't expect good things to just come your way without you putting something in. And I wish I could stress that, right? To not just millennials, but to us older people, right? That is over 25, us older people that's over 30. I just hit 35, but I want you to understand that nothing plus nothing leaves nothing. And if you want to see happiness, but you're not putting in no work to get to the happiness, you will never see it. The text says it'll be well with you, but it's going to take some work. It'll be well with you, but it's going to take some work. Now, here's what I want you to get right, because we're talking about the family blessing. The family blessing. And I want you to get this. Notice that the Psalms, this psalmist in this particular text, Psalm 128, describes the wife as a fruitful vine, and the children are described as plants. And I want you to get this right, that it's talking about the relationships inside the house. And if you would allow me just for a second, right, to peep into your house, right, what are your relationships like? I know you want to save the world, but what is your relationship with your children like? I know you want to bless the people, right, but what is your relationship with your husband, or what is your relationship with your wife like? I want you to hear me when I say this. It's very possible to be a public success while being a private failure. It's very possible for you to preach the word on Sunday, for you to sing on Sunday, for you to do Bible study, right? But have a failing relationship with your wife, with your husband, to not be able to correctly have a right relationship with your kids. I love, right, that the psalmist links, right? The inner relationships inside the house. We are quarantined in 2020, right? My question to you is, what have you done, right, to make the relationships better in your house? What if the COVID-19 was simply God saying, I need you to get those relationships back right in the house? I know you and your wife or your husband, I know you and your spouse been struggling relationally, but this time together is for y'all to reconnect to one another. What if the coronavirus is only here just for you to get back right with your kids, with your son, with your daughters? What if it was just to bring the families back together? Here's what I love. The wife is described as the fruitful vine, and the children are described as plants. And here's what I want to point out about that, that both of them need care and concern for them to come to their greatest potential. I hope you hear me when I say that they are described as living organisms, the fruitful vine, which is alive, the plants that are alive, but they need your care and concern for them to come to their greatest potential. Let's talk about the wife as the vine, a living thing that needs nurturing in order to be fruitful. Hear me when I say this. John 15, it brings that I am the true vine and my father is the husbandman, right? And he purges it that it may bring forth more fruit. I want you to hear me, because when I hear this word vine, I hear of something that can be fruitful based on the care and the concern and the nurturing that you put into it. Nothing plus nothing leave nothing. I hear somebody saying, I want my family to be blessed, but here's what I want you to understand. If you're not nurturing that plant, if you're not nurturing that flower, that vine, what was meant to be productive for you, right, can actually, come on, become a problem if you're not nurturing and given the right care and concern. The wife is divine. She'll be fruitful if you care and concern. I'm gonna use that interchangeably with husband. Maybe your husband, maybe your home life, your relationship, your marriage, right, is a thing that's supposed to produce and be fruitful for you, right? But it needs your care and concern in order to be fruitful. I don't know if this is just for you tonight, but I'm glad you tuned on, because maybe God is saying that what you want to get out of it, you haven't put enough in, come on, to get out what you want to get out. Your relationship needs your care and concern to be fruitful. Your marriage needs your care and concern to be fruitful. Your wife, your husband needs your care and concern to be fruitful. I want you to hear me when I say this, right? That it calls the spouse or the wife the fruitful vine, but not the children. In other words, that me and my husband or me and my wife are supposed to produce, right, as a team, so that the family, right, can be fed from, come on, I want you to hear me, from the union that my husband and my wife and I, that we share. Come on, I want you to hear me. Come on, say this. My marriage needs my care and concern so that it can be fruitful. My marriage needs my care and concern so that it can be fruitful. My relationship needs my care and concern so that it can be fruitful. How much have you put in while you trying to pull out? I want to encourage you tonight. Maybe God is calling you, right, to labor in that place so that that thing can become fruitful again. What it once was, that God can bring some fruit out of it. Your time is needed in order for it to become fruitful. Your energy in your relationship, your time in your relationship, your attention in your relationship, the love in your relationship is needed from you in order for it to become fruitful. It says that the wife is the fruitful vine. Get this, and the children are the olive plants. And I want you to get this, right? Plants also need care and concern, not necessarily to be fruitful, but to grow. And here's my question to you tonight. My question to you is, Are you doing what you can to see your children grow? Or are you fussing at them, right, because they get on your nerves? Are you being abusive or are you being cultivating, right? Are you, come on, I want you to hear me. They need care and concern in order to grow. The children are the olive plants. They need to be planted. They need to be nurtured. They need to be fed. They need to be cultivated. Sometimes they need to be watched, right? So that they can grow properly. And I want you to hear me, right? That your family will never be blessed if you don't recognize that it's going to take some work from you. And so I want you to hear me, right? This psalm, right, is just an encouragement, right? And I love the analogy that it gave because it gives me an understanding, right? That God, and He wants my relationship to be right, but He uses an analogy, right, that includes effort from me. You can kill a vine or you can stunt the vine's productivity if you don't take care of and nurture it properly. And so this psalm is here to remind you, to encourage you that God will bless your labor. I want you to hear me. When I talk about the blessed family, I want you to understand that your family can be blessed if you, I want you to hear me when I say this, reinvest the labor into it. I never forget this. My mom, she bought some plants a few years ago. My mom loves plants. She bought some plants a few years ago. And what she said to me was that when she first got this plant, it had become dead. It had become shriveled. And she thought that it was dead. But here's what she said. I want y'all to hear me when I say this. She said that she repotted it. She put some new soil in there. She started changing the fertilizer she was doing. She mixed it up in there and she put it by the window. And she said, I want you to hear me when I say this, every day she would water it. Every day she would open the window and let some sun hit it every single day. And she said she thought that it was dead because she didn't see nothing. But after a while, she didn't give up on it. She kept feeding it. She kept nurturing it. She kept watering it. She kept opening it up so the sun could hit it. And she said one day she went to the plant and she started to see a little green. And I want you to hear me when I say this, right? We're talking about the family blessing tonight. I want you to hear me that God blesses your labor. I want you to rededicate yourself, right, to cultivating your family. Rededicate yourself to cultivating your relationship with your children. Rededicate yourself to cultivating that relationship with your husband or your wife. Rededicate yourself. Put the work in. Come on, say, I'm going to put the work in. I got to put the work in. I want you to hear me when I say this. I got to put the work in. Your relationship with your wife is not going to get better unless you put the work in. Your relationship with your husband is not going to get better unless you put the work in. Come on, say, I got to put the work in. Don't get weary in well doing, for in due season you will reap if you don't faint. The psalmist says that God will bless your labor. So shall this man be who is blessed by the Lord. Don't get weary in well doing. In the end, you will see that it was blessed. In the end, you will see that it was blessed. I want you to hear me as I close. Sometimes you don't recognize the blessing, not while you're in it, but until the end of a thing because of the way that it turned out. Sometimes you don't recognize that it's blessed until you get to the end and see how many lefts it could have made, how many rights it could have made, how it could have ran into the ground. You see the detriment that could have came out, but it turned out blessed. This is how we know that we blessed, not at the beginning of a thing, not in the, come on, I want you to hear me when I say that, not in the thick of the thing, but on the other side. That's when you recognize that it was blessed, because what the devil made it seem like could have been or should have been, God turned it around, right? And I want you to hear me when I say this tonight. The family blessing, we talking about the family blessing, that God will bless what you do. Rededicate yourself starting tonight. Man, I hope that encouraged you guys tonight. As you can see, I'm so fired up. I want you to hear me when I say this, that God works through the times, right? That it don't seem like he's working. He moves in the times that it don't seem like he's moving. Sometimes God allows things to get bad because it's in the bad times that he needs to do his best work. And I want you to hear me. Sometimes he breaks things apart because they were built the wrong way. But if you trust him and you work at it, God can bring it back together. So I hope that's an encouragement for you tonight. Come on, say, my family is blessed. I know you may not be seeing eye to eye, but my family is blessed. I know the kids probably getting on your nerves, but my family is blessed. You may be having financial struggle, but my family is blessed. I know you may not have been able to go back to work, but my family is blessed, not because of what it looks like right now, but because of what it's going to turn out to be. Man, so thank you guys for tuning in tonight. I'm sorry I'm a little uplifted with that. Thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight. I hope this word encouraged you. I hope it strengthened your faith as we go through the things that we go through. I want you to hear me that God will bless it. God will bless it. God will bless it. I sounded too holy right there, but God will bless it. I want you to hear me when I say that. Keep the faith. So once again, guys, thank you guys for tuning in. Please go to our website. I've been doing a lot of major changes on our website. It's www.thegodmovement.com. I want you guys to do this starting tomorrow on our website. We're going to do a 30-day devotional. It's called 30 Days Through Genesis. And what this 30 days is designed to do, you can go to our website, and right there on our website, you'll be able to get your devotional, right? And what it's designed to do is designed to teach you something about God, but also do a self-reflection, right? So you can start to open up and see these different areas and places in your life, right? Where you can be strengthened or that you probably haven't been paying attention to. I guarantee you that it's going to bless your life. So with that, guys, go to our website for the next 30 days. I'm going to be uploading some devotionals, some very helpful devotionals that are going to bless your life, that are going to open up some things in you, leading you to a self-discovery as well as God discovery. What I want you to do is I want you to hear me. We about to take this spiritual journey for the next 30 days, guys, and I want you to hear me when I say this. It is going to definitely enhance your relationship with God. So with that, guys, be sure to go to our website, www.thegodmovement.com. It's going to be uploading starting tomorrow. We're doing 30 days through Genesis. All right, so thank you guys once again for tuning in. You guys have a blessed night, and I will see you guys next Wednesday.